Now let's proceed to Katarina. Katarina, the floor is yours. I apologize again.
No worries. Thank you. Once again. Hopefully you all see my screen. It should be fine.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Katarina Trstenjak. I work at Jozef Stefan Institute in the Energy Efficiency Center. And just perhaps it's good to give you an overview what actually our department is also has been working lately in the field of the energy poverty in Slovenia. For instance, we've been involved in energy poverty now for quite some years. We actually helped building the National Action Plan for Energy Poverty in Slovenia. We were also leading the consortium for preparation of the NECP in Slovenia. And also now we are giving the support for social and climate plan to the ministry. So in many cases in Slovenia, we work as a group of experts or offering support to the Ministry of Environment, Climate and Energy. So in that sense, we have consistencies also in the documents, and we know we can just like follow up what was going on and what is written in which document, and we're constantly working with the ministry. So we have this kind of red line through all the things going on. So actually, if I proceed, okay, sorry. So as it's also written in the title of my presentation, in Slovenia we have National Action Plan to reduce energy poverty. But before that, before actually making the National Action Plan to reduce energy poverty, it's important also to know that how it actually came together. It's actually based on the previous good practices that we already have in Slovenia. This was a program called 0500. This was led by Slovenian Eco Fund, which is then gave out 100% subsidy for the energy poor households. So, for instance, in that time already there was over 400 people involved. I mean, and also there was 560 investments in the energy efficiency measures, because they already have established the network how to actually give away the money who were at that time eligible for this kind of measures. We decided that the action plan, actually, when we were doing it, it was like a group of different experts were actually building on the good practices that we already have in Slovenia. And also before the action plan itself, the definition of energy poverty was adopted in Slovenia and included in the regulation of criteria for defining and assessing the number of energy poor households, which was at the end of 2022. And also, while building the definition of energy poverty, it was a lot of experts, different experts were included. And for this, we were also in that group. It was like 3 partners in the project. It was an NGO, and it was like Institute for Economic Research, and it was our institute actually. So we actually built together this definition. So we have already for some years now a definition in Slovenia who actually are energy poor people, energy poor households. So actually the National Action Plan, as I mentioned, was adopted in 2023, and it's taking into account the period for 2024 and 2026. We have the measures, and then we also have who is responsible, but the targets that are actually in the action plan are until 2023. And we also had in mind that this social and climate plan will come into action when we were planning some funds and stuff. But anyway, the targets that are included in the national action plan are actually 2 are in line with the NECP, also with the new NECP update, and 1 is in line with the EED directive. So for instance, the main goal in the action plan is actually to reduce energy poor households to approximately 3.8% to 4.6% until 2023. Just to give you an overview, in 2024, Slovenia had 63,000 energy poor households, which represented 7.3 energy poor households on a national level. And this is actually what we also established, is that Slovenian Statistical Office is doing this every year. They're calculating the numbers of energy poor households in Slovenia, so we can also see where we're at. A second target is actually by 2023, how much investment we should implement in the field of energy efficiency and renewables. So in at least 8,000 energy poor households, we should take in with the measures that we have. And of course, we have the cumulative energy savings target to be achieved in energy poor households in the period 2021-2003. It's estimated to 573 gigawatts. So this is also included in the new version of the NECP. So we actually put the stuff that are coming from action plan to the NECPs as well. There are also some other measures included. So here you have the energy poverty definition. I just put it in here because we were trying to combine again something that is that has to do with the income and of course the conditions that people are living in. And also this is then, now that we have the definition, for instance, also then the Eco Fund has special, they know what to look in and how to actually define and to find the energy poor household. So just to briefly, just like the main measures in the action plan, it's quite broad, but this is actually the biggest, let's say, measure, or it's called the scheme for energy poverty reduction. What is here included is investment incentive for energy efficiency, renewable energy measures for the energy poor households, and they become 100% subsidy from the Eco Fund. So also what is included is project office with regional info points for energy poverty, informal network for information and awareness raising, energy advice for energy poor households. This is then again comes with constant informing of members on informal network. And a lot of it should be done with the information awareness raising of energy poor people. Just to give you an overview, not all of the measures that are actually in the action plan are already taking place, but what is, for instance, currently open and what is going on is this current, it's the call for energy pool. It's called the ZER 2024. So again, EcoFund, Slovenia Environmental Public Fund, is offering 100% subsidies for energy pool households for energy efficiency and renewables measures. So this is what's going on, and slowly they're also putting some measures that are, for instance, they are now having coordinators who are, for instance, helping energy poor households how to fill actually all the paperwork and everything, because probably you know that the energy poor people are perhaps they need different support than other people when it comes if you want to apply for any kind of subsidies. So with coming all of this, how we act here now, as I mentioned before, helping also the government to shape the social and climate plan. I have to say we're not involved in this, the transport sector, so I will just focus on the energy part. And also the government so far also decided, the ministry, that they will not focus on the enterprises, the mini enterprises, and also they will not give direct support, which they can do, but they decided not. So all the measures will both try to like eliminate the energy poverty. And this, I have to say, these are just like preliminary, because we are now in the process, like I think most of the countries. So we are just like flipping numbers around and ideas still. But I think that the measures or the investments, how they are called in the plans, are now the ones that will be supported. So actually, again, investment one is to support energy efficiency, renewable energy measure for individual energy poor or vulnerable households. So this actually means the continuation and expansion of this ZER 2023 or whatever, for instance, the Eco Fund is doing. So this again means 100% subsidy for renovation of building envelope, heat pumps, biomass, district heating connections. That kind of measures are included here. So the investment two is actually support for energy poor and vulnerable households in multi-apartment buildings. Here we have different measures included in these investments. Once we want to focus also to support for the renovation of the worst energy efficient public apartments, because in Slovenia we don't have special social housing like in many countries there is, but this social housing is scattered all over. So it's not like that you have one big building and it's just social housing, but it can become social housing when it's just like it's a lot of formula behind it and a lot of policies behind it when it is, when it's not. So perhaps in that case, it's a bit difficult to target like directly the social housing with the renovation. So here we are thinking to, I don't know, to target, for instance, 200 apartments to renovate, and also to go like on individual measures. So for instance, just to change the windows or something like that, because it's easier if you live in a multi-apartment building and there is just like one apartment that is publicly owned. It's easier just to, let's say, change the windows also than to go for, I don't know, the whole facade or something of the apartment, because of the building, because then you need approval from other people as well, and it's a bit more complicated. So what is also included is co-financing building and joint boiler rooms, for instance, for the energy poor households, and heat pumps. And one is also what we will focus, it's the worst performing multi-apartment buildings. So to at least apply 2 of the energy efficiency investments in that houses. So investment number 3 is inclusion of energy poor on vulnerable households in energy communities. So these are 2 we're looking forward now, like looking at the 2 options, either to, for instance, pay for the solar panels, because these were what we were thinking, or then because you have different schemes behind it, perhaps also to pay either then for the electricity or some kind, but it's like how to include actually them for the energy poor and vulnerable households in energy communities. And then it's one measure, because it's not actually investments, it's of course targeted information, education, awareness raising, this, and we have technical assistance as well, the money. So this is how, for instance, it looks like we have a lot of Excel sheets behind it and calculations, but you can see, for instance, how many households are we looking to target and what this actually means in funds, in shares, in greenhouse gas emissions, and then also in yearly savings, for instance. So as you can see, we've put the most amount of money, it's on the individual households in investment number 1. So to change to give the 100% subsidies for energy efficiency measures. And we already have, for instance, here it's written also the complementary measures in place. So we have ZER. This is also was similar than to ZER 2023 that I said before, but it's just the money. It's one is from the climate fund, the one money it comes from the regional funds. So cohesion fund, sorry. So here I will not go through the numbers, but I think presentations will be shared. So, but these, as I said, these are preliminary numbers. So we're just like shifting this. And of course, we also calculated this, what this actually means, reaching savings targets within the Article 8.3. So what actually was calculated, it's that we will actually overachieve the goal that was set in the NECP. So, but we are doing the calculations. So thank you. I hope.
Thank you very much, Katarina, for all this valuable information. Before continuing with the questions, we have one for you. The question is, what indicator is used by the statistical office in order to monitor energy poverty in Slovenia?
We have the definition, and then they go with, I think it's Silk, and they're also doing some kind of, they're actually, how it's called, the questionnaire. I have to double check, but it's in line with our definition. So it's this lower the income, and then they're also saying, I think if they live with the roof is leaking or something like that. So they're combining these 2.
Okay, thank you. And we have another one question, which is, does the 100% funding rate help to get a larger number of participants? As experience with other schemes has shown it is not always the case.
I don't know, because I'm not sure if we ever had any lower. The how much actually households, this will be the question for Eco Fund, but I think all the money was spent from the previous, that was before ZER 2024, all the money was gone. And I think this is now quite well established. But as well as Because now with all this money, I didn't say we will get 358 million, something like that. And we're calculating we will go 280 million just for the energy, poverty of energy vulnerable households. This will mean quite a lot of work, and actually how to reach all the households that are considered to be energy poor or energy vulnerable. This will be quite a challenge to find them actually too. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. We have received another question, clarification question for Milena about 50% allocated to transport measures. Will it also include a share of direct support like social voucher for transport fuel, or are these 50% meant for transport measure only, public transport, etc.? Lenka.
Thank you. So I cannot tell you the exact information on this measure because it's still in the very rough draft. What I can tell you is that idea is to give direct support to energy poor people, households and population in the forms of this continuation of these vouchers. And also to give certain types of vouchers for public transportation. So not any type of vouchers for fuel or for similar activities. But as I said, this is in very, very high draft version. So maybe something will change until June when the plan should be finalized.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's continue with the common, let's say, question. Where is there already in-country discussion on use of ETS2 revenues in addition to the social climate plan to ensure best impact for most vulnerable energy poor citizen? Or you have focused only to the budget of the social climate plan? Perhaps it is too technical now in the phase of preparation. So
yeah, so far I think I know in Slovenia we focused on what will actually come from the social and climate fund, this and this additional that each country has to contribute this 25.
I think it's the same for Croatia as well. So far we have only been participating in the social climate plan planning. And I don't think that there is a high level of planning for the remaining funds.
Okay. Do we have other questions? One question from me is, okay, due to the fact that the regulation for the social climate plan says that the energy poor household should be prioritized, do you believe that it is feasible to distinguish energy poor and energy vulnerable households in order to identify them and to prioritize the measures? Katarina, do you want to?
Yeah, if I because we're having a lot of discussions also with the ministry, and we know that we will have to broaden or find a definition what are energy vulnerable households as well. So if you have any ideas, or because I mean it's okay, we already can find the idea who, for instance, would be energy vulnerable in that sense. But the issue that we're having afterwards is how can we actually check the data, especially the eco fund, who is actually then eligible to get the funds. Because in Slovenia, we're always crashing into these questions. We don't have the database that will, for instance, include all the incomes and also how much you own, I don't know, the properties or something. So for us, it's hard. Now the eco fund is going together with social welfare or something that comes from the social politics, and also they just come there with a proof that okay, you are, let's say, going with how much your income is, but we want to go further for the energy vulnerable, and for instance, I don't know, giving them 70% subsidy or something like that. But we're having an issue how to tackle this. I mean, we can say, I don't know, this quintile or this if people have this kind of income or something, but we don't have the database afterwards to actually go, for instance, for EcoFund to actually have, okay, I have this information and I can rely on this, I don't know, database that we're having. So I don't know how it's in other countries. It will be good to hear the experiences, because EcoFund was also thinking to have, you know, these classes or clusters of, then you have this, how much is your income actually and how much subsidy you actually get if you put any kind of renovation or something like that. But again, we don't have the database behind it to actually, so this is at least the issue in Slovenia.
Thank you, Katarina. Milena, any?
I can just confirm what Katarina already said, that we also have the issue with the databases, and finding the data on energy poverty is very hard, how to like determine who is actually energy poor. And we nationally have like adopted this EU SIL criteria, and based on these great indicators, we are calculating the number of potentially energy poor households. But as Katarina said, in reality, it's very hard to distinguish which household should actually receive the subsidy. So additional criteria has also been discussed for particular calls.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question. How do you see the balance between mitigating distributional effects, aiming at helping as many households as possible, and supporting the most vulnerable one, aiming at helping the ones who need it the most? Any ideas?
Maybe I can complement here.
Yes, Samuel.
We've also collaborated on, from the Commission side on helping member states in coming up and understanding all of these different, sometimes absurd facets of the request. But when you say between mitigating distributional effects and supporting the most vulnerable, like it is true the distributional effects might affect every income category, but if you have a high income, why do you need support? I think that's the main question, that also if you have a really high income to cover for your renovation and to cover for this transition that we need, just transition that we need to go through, the thought behind in the Commission is more like to, okay, we cannot offer all of this additional help to everyone, and we'll focus more on people that are already in energy poor situations or transfer poor situation, and then the additional level of understanding the vulnerability that will affect energy poor or not energy poor people yet, but still vulnerable to carbon price changes. Then that part will cover the distributional effect of helping as many households as possible. Like not everyone would need help, probably. That's my take on it. Like a lot of people do need help, but some people can already cover it.
And according to the regulation for the social climate plans, the objective is to maximize the impact, the triggered impacts from the ETS2E position. So this is okay. Thank you very much, all. A general again question, because you mentioned the problems with the data, with the difficulty in estimating the cost due to the inflation. Can you identify the most critical challenges that perhaps may hinder the implementation of the social climate plan? And if for them, can you propose any mitigation action for them? I don't know. Katarina, do you want to start? Ilenka, yes.
Maybe I can start. So, and to continue on what Samuel said as an answer to previous question, and I think that's actually my fear for the implementation of this social climate plan is that maybe the measures will not target the households that should receive the most help. And actually that is something that we have been discussing a lot in this closed group that has been working on the measures, how to formulate the measure in the most in the optimal way, in the way that it actually targets the households that will be the most vulnerable to the effects of ETS2 system, and how to actually reach these types of households, because as we already said, we have a lot of theoretical data on who might be energy poor, but we are actually lacking like the mapping of the system, or we lack the knowledge where these households are actually situated, or which households actually in reality need the help. So one of the fears or dangers why these measures might not be implemented fully is that we will probably start with the implementation a bit later, as we already have the experience with other similar funds that are not being implemented in time. So all the funds are not then being able to be used by the time that they need to be used. And that has been the experience with Recovery and Resilience Fund, unfortunately, for some measures. The second measure is that maybe we will not have enough money for all the measures to be implemented, especially for the ones that will benefit the most or contribute the most to energy savings, for example, the measures in energy efficiency part of the social plan. And the third would be that we might not target actually the people who need the help the most. So maybe that would be 3 different dangers or yeah, thank you.
Correct, thank you. Katarina, any response on this?
Yeah, if I can continue, I also think it's also how to find and define the vulnerables, because we put them in all the investments or measures, but it's just now so far we can tackle the energy poor. And then it's also one thing, okay, how to find that the ones, we also had a lot of discussions in Slovenia, what about the people who are renting apartments? Because now the subsidies are going to just if you own. So this is another thing. We know we have to resolve it somehow, but we were not sure that we can actually do it in this social and climate plan, because this has to be implemented quite fast. So this can take time. So we will see if we will go like any other route, but then perhaps, but we leave it open so far. And what also could be the thing that I see, for instance, I mentioned energy communities. So if energy communities, for instance, in general in Slovenia will not live the way they should, because now there are some obstacles when it comes to regulation, we cannot expect that then that the communities where they could include energy poor households work. So this is also the condition that communities as such have to work. So in order to include, for instance, energy poor households, the same goes with the multi-apartment buildings. So if renovation there will be okay and the speed will be okay, then it's easy. It's easier to include a household that is energy poor and give them 100% subsidy. But if this will not be working as it should on the national level, then of course this again will not be working for energy poor people as well. And what we also see a bit, it's not an obstacle, but what we are afraid of is how much money there is and how much money actually will have to be then distributed among people in such a quite short time, because now we're counting our eco fund in Slovenia, for instance. And if you have measured, we are now calculating like for a house or something, it's around 20,000 euros for households to do these energy efficiency measures. And this means quite a lot of paperwork behind it, and people who are actually dealing with these energy poor households and have to go through all this process, because sometimes it can take quite a lot of time to actually, from the time that you put in the paperwork and then actually, I don't know, your house is being renovated. So this, we are also afraid of how many people actually we will need in the eco fund, for instance, if they will be able in this short amount of time, because they're also still having some cohesion funds for energy poor households. It's quite a lot of money to process because the investments are not as big. For instance, it's not €1 million investment for one household or something. It's just like for instance, we are thinking around €20,000 for a household. This could be then the maximum. So.
Okay, thank you, Katarina. Another quick questions. As you mentioned, the rented sector in Croatia and Slovenia, is the rented sector mostly public, social housing or alike, or mostly private sector? Will you see the development of social housing in terms of the number of dwellings available as a way to support vulnerable households? Any quick reaction?
Yeah, I can say, I mean, we don't have, as I mentioned, social housing as social housing. They are just like public apartments that then become social housing. So they're scattered all over the places. This is one of the measures actually that we would try to focus on this social house. Then when they become like social housing or places where people from vulnerable people live, to actually put the money for for the energy efficiency measures. So we will try to do it like this. But then again, if it's a multi-apartment building, then it's a longer process then, because you need to the whole actually community then for instance renovation, and they have the money and all these things. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, and another observation from me is, okay, in regards to the renovation, the focus has been given on the residential buildings. What about micro enterprises? Is there any other barrier that perhaps hinders the implementation or the design of measures? Do you have any idea about the reasons behind this, or it is an issue of data? And in Greece, we do not have data for the micro enterprise or for the social climate plan. It's not very easy to design measures. Are there any similar problems in your case for your energy vulnerable micro enterprise, or there is the assumptions that they will manage to find the money that are required in order to implement all these measures?
Maybe I can add that the situation in Croatia is similar to Greece. We don't have a lot of data on micro enterprises, at least not official one. But some data that we have are indicating that a lot of people who are registered as micro enterprises are actually using their houses as places of business, or they registered their houses as like official business addresses. And that is one of the reasons why we did not specifically targeted micro enterprises as a specific group in the measures that are targeting energy poor or vulnerable households, because we believe that somehow if you are targeting, for example, family house, and like the business is already registered in this family house, and the population living in the family house is deemed to be energy poor, you're already tackling like micro enterprises and the population or household as such. So in the description of the measures, we are mentioning this distinction, but the measure is actually being targeting like energy poor and vulnerable communities and population as such.
Okay. Thank you very much. And the last question, because we are very close to end this meeting, about the consultation activities. Are stakeholders representing the most vulnerable groups actively being consulted by the national authority? If yes, how? Any response to this about the current, let's say, process in your country?
I mean, I can say, although I'm not from the ministry, No, they had public consultation with municipality once was held, and last week there was one consultation mostly with NGOs. and other interested public. So the NGOs were more or less also the ones tackling with the all kinds of like transport and energy poverty. But I can also share the experience where we were doing the action plan. For instance, we had regular meetings with a lot of different stakeholders, also from the social side and from NGOs and everything. But in Slovenia, in that sense, sometimes it's quite a small country. So it's the community of, I don't know, 40 people or 20 people dealing with energy poverty. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think that we are done. Thank you very much for your presentation and for this very interesting discussion. I think that we can deduct a very useful policy recommendation. The first one is yes, there are overlaps between energy poverty within the context of the EED and the social climate plans. Yes, we can accelerate and facilitate, let's say, the implementation of the energy efficiency measures. Of course, a more coordinated approach is needed, and as a first step, the exploitation of existing programs can be the starting point, but I think that we need more dedicated programs focused on the energy poor and energy vulnerable, let's say, consumers. The most challenging issue is the identification of them with very clear criteria which will be used in order to identify and to involve in the programs. I think that and within the framework of the ENSMOV Plus project, we will continue toward this direction in order to explore how this can be implemented actually. Thank you very much. I would like to remind you that in the chat we have the link for the survey. Please assess the webinar because we want to become more effective, more productive. So please participate in this survey. You need only a few minutes. I hope to see you in the next events that will be organized within the framework of ENSMOV Plus project. We will try to focus again on energy poverty. We will see, perhaps after the submission of the social climate plans in order to see. Thank you again for your participation. You will receive the presentation. We have recorded the discussion, so you will have the opportunity again to identify details. Thank you all, and I hope to see you in the next ENSMOV Plus events. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.